You are about to leave the world of ordinary cars behind and make the Eagle switch. The revolutionary two-wheel, four-wheel drive American Eagle. The only automobile that lets you switch from two-wheel drive to full-time four-wheel drive. From high mileage on the road to high adventure off the road. Two-wheel drive luxury to four-wheel drive security. American Eagle. A switch from every car in the world.
I'm Ken Krueger.
I'm Chad Krueger, and we're partners in Krueger Kustoms. Street rods, hot rods, build them, customize them, do anything really from hot rods to four-wheel drives to pretty much anything you can think of. If you got an idea, we'll try it.
So we're hanging out at the shop one day. Kelly comes down. He's like, got this great idea.
I wanted to do some kind of a sedan or something, maybe an AMC, Eagle. I don't know, maybe a Pinto. I don't know what it was. It was gonna be something, We're
like, man, we don't have time for that shit. We're busy as hell already. And he kept pursuing the issue.
And then I found this Eagle on this AMC Eagle that looked super clean on eBay.
We're like, well, what the hell? Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, Kelly searched for, I want to say months.
It's in Manhattan and not really, spending a lot of time in New York. I was like, no big deal.
And then it came down to the wire on trying to get a car to build the thing. So that was kind of sketchy too, but.
From the outside, man, it looked super clean. But, you start kind of getting underneath it and there was a lot more rust than what was in the photos. And
had a nice paint job and everything, but the underside of the car wasn't that great. And
I remember we ended up with it at Bantam, and that was the first time I showed it to Dennis from Terraflex.
The first time I saw this Eagle and I heard that there was going to be this opportunity to throw a set of 40-inch tires under it and roll it into SEMA like any rational human being.
I was like, look, here's my idea. You guys got to get involved. You got to do this. And he's looking at me like.
I was ecstatic at the opportunity to participate in such an adventure. No, I wasn't. I crawled under this thing and went, are you serious? You ever looked under a bone stock Eagle? It's not a pretty sight under there. There's just no opportunity for a lift system of any kind.
Yeah, it was quite I didn't see it pull in. I know Kenny did, I think.
Oh, man. He was right. It had a paint job, but the rest of the car was to be desired. It had a lot of rust.
Kelly brought it down. I got here later and I walk outside and the one front wheel's leaning way in and Kenny's like, holy crap, what the hell is this going on? And
we're just like, holy crap, could you found a worse donor?
The inner fender well was rusted so bad, the A-arm's up against the steering shaft and stuff. So it made it fun to try even get in the shop.
Well, we finally were able to get it inside and up on the lift. And once we got it up in the air, we're just like, oh man, this thing's pretty rusty.
It wasn't a day that went by that we weren't cussing Kelly for rust falling on our head. And
so it all got cut off, unbolted, thrown in the scrap pile.
We probably cut out 80% of the rust, but there's still a little bit there.
5-gallon buckets of rusted metal that just got tossed out in the trash. Yeah, we took a lot of weight off that car. Got hooked up with Dennis at Terraflex, and we threw some ideas at him, he threw some ideas at us, because we were looking at older parts and he wanted to go with something more stylish and newer so that the market would be covered better, which we agreed we could do that route.
So I looked at it, and so at this stage, I'm thinking, man, there is no way that we can put any Terraflex parts under this. What if we found like a two-door JK?
We'd call Dennis and we'd go through different parts and different this, and we kind of agreed upon that, hey, the way to really make this go is we're just gonna have to get a new chassis.
Just something that's beat up, whatever. You can just pull the top off the thing and slap the body on it.
Grant found us a JK Kelly was out of town, so he took the step and was like, I found you guys one and it's not tweaked or anything.
So we found, it was actually a Mango Tango JK. I can't remember from what year, but this thing had an engine fire.
It was bad. The whole front of the Jeep was just toast. The motor shit was melted on it, dripping down on the front diff.
We end up, you know, going through the auction, and the price is climbing a little bit more than we wanted to spend, but it was like, all right, like, it's now or never. If we're gonna complete this build, we absolutely need the chassis, so let's just get it done.
Like, yeah, dang, this thing was in one hell of a fire, and everything's all melted on the engine, and it's all dripped down onto the chassis and everything. And we were just like, this is gonna suck. We figured with that being a unibody, we were safer going and using the Jeep frame and setting that body on the Jeep frame.
We did some measurements and everything, found out the JK chassis was 9 inches longer than the AMC Eagle, so we had to shorten the frame and make that all work. And then
so we had to seam the chassis actually right where the factory did it. We cut everything apart, we spread it apart, my brother cut it down, we squished it back together, he welded everything back up. I mean, you couldn't even tell.
And we put flat plates in there and everything and redid some of the body panels, which made it a little nicer, definitely.
But then, you know, once we pulled the motor out of it, the tranny out of it, the fuel cell out of it, and got it all stripped down and ready to start putting the TerraFlex stuff on, it wasn't so bad.
TerraFlex was one of the big sponsors. They stepped up huge. Dennis was a big part of it.
But once we got everything to the point where it kind of was lining up, and then we put the 40s on there, we were like, man, these are some big tires on this thing, and the thing sat so high in the air. And
Turo stepped up. You know, we had the 37s originally, and then Kelly wound up getting the 40s because he sold the first set to his brother, or gave them to him for his Gladiator, I think it was.
It gave it a sweet ass look for sure, but it was just a little too much tire for the rig, but we rolled with it, and it definitely made it look like a mean machine.
Dennis there is so stoked on his support, reached out to him and said, hey, we need some step and some bumpers and some stuff to kind of round this thing out.
When I got the phone call and they told me they're going to build this thing, I asked them what the hell for, to be honest with you. But when they asked why they do it and how they do it, I was quite enthused by it, and we ran with it.
And he was cool to oblige and hook us up. He was a little bit like, what is this? What are you doing? And how's that gonna work? And I kept telling him, like, it's basically a Jeep, but it's not.
Yeah, we did add some Aries bumpers that Dennis had sent down to us.
I actually got into Denver, and I was able to go see it. And you know, so when I got to see it throughout the build of it, you know, it was quite interesting on how the challenges that they did have with putting all this together. And
before that, we didn't have any bumpers on it. So when we added those bumpers, it was a really nice touch. The automatic steps was awesome addition. Made it so much easier to get in and out of that thing, because otherwise you were jumping in, jumping out. So the steps were a big bonus to it.
with the final build of how they came out, you know, it was quite impressive. You know, they do a great, you know, the company itself, Quake LEDs, does a fantastic job on these crazy builds. And this just fell in line with everything else of just another crazy build by Quake LED. I'm really glad they let me be a part of it.
Yeah, it was quite the project. I mean, it turned out real fun. The biggest part that I like about it was putting the 401 in it.
We kept looking for motors, trying to find an actual AMC motor that we could put in there to kind of keep it with the theme of everything, because we didn't want to do a Chevy or an LS or anything like that.
You know, going from the 6-cylinder to the 401 and upgrading stuff. We put the electric steps on it and just, you know, keep it growing. That car turned out pretty cool, and the props we get on it is amazing.
So in the process of dealing with TerraFlex, they sent us these Olympus wheels that were pretty cool.
These are actually one of my favorite wheels in the industry right now because they make airing down so simple. So you actually have a valve here, and as you can see, it says air down on this valve. And literally when I open this valve, you can preset the spring mechanism in it, so it's gonna air down to exactly the PSI that you want. So I literally hop out of the vehicle, I literally unscrew 4 valves, it automatically deflates my tires to the set pressure, which right now we're at about 12 pounds. And then you just tighten the valves back up and you're aired down. So it's literally that simple, really innovative, and you know what? We just love them so much.
Really nice looking wheels, very functional. So that was kind of a nice asset to the build.
Yeah, Kelly's like, oh, we're almost somewhat done with the build and we still got probably 2 weeks worth of work left, and SEMA's like a week and a half out. And
Kelly came down with the Kleinn air horns, which we had to incorporate into the Jeeagle.
yeah, Kleinn horns, they're you want something to get somebody out of the way or make them jump, they're loud though. They work, and
you got to figure out where these huge air horns are going to go, which was another area where we brainstormed together, pulled something together, and it turned out beautiful.
yeah, give props to everybody. Dennis, Arturo, Kleinn horns, Aries, DS18 for the stereo. They got a good product.
Wanna be the dawn of the show, couldn't even hear me.
Dang, that's loud.
Kelly came down with Overland Vehicle Systems tent awning combination for top of the Jeeagle.
Oh, so I was tasked with making a way for the rooftop tent to attach to the Jeeagle. I came up with an idea to put a piece of flat bar, bolt it down, and then build all of the necessary brackets for everything. All the attachment points for the light bars. There were 2 on the sides, 1 on the front and the back.
The Overland Vehicle Systems, they provided us with the rooftop tent and the 270-degree awning that you see on the side. Just so awesome. It makes the build. You know, you see it, it's already big and lifted, and you've got the big rectangle on top, and when you actually deploy that tent, it's a massive fold-over tent that has a big mattress in it that's super comfy and sleeps 2 people, but you can literally climb up the ladder. It just feels like your own little oasis in there.
But I gotta admit, once we got to SEMA and got the thing set up, it was badass. It totally fit the profile of the vehicle perfect. So that was a good addition.
The Jeeagle name, yeah, that's it's funny. So we kept calling it the Jeep, and then the Eagle, and then the Jeep, and then.
And everybody was coming up with all these names and this and that, and I'm like, why don't we just combine the 2 together?
Ken one day's like just started calling it the Jeegle, and it just stuck, and everyone started calling it the Jeegle.
It's a 1986 Eagle 2012 JK. So it's a Eagle Jeep Jeeagle. There you go. So that's how it came about.
I remember my first time driving the thing. I mean, it's utterly impossible to not be sitting behind the wheel of that thing and smile.
The Jeeagle, it's one of my favorite builds. You know, I love what Ken and Chad, they'd kind of done with it, and I kind of had this idea, and those guys just took it to a new level.
We've had the opportunity to display it at tons of different events, showing off all the different parts on it and just the build in general. And every time we're driving it through town, I mean, people are just snapping their heads back and forth to actually get a good view of it. So appreciative of the sponsors. Dennis at Terraflex, thank you, man, for all the support and laughing with me and not at me. You know, Dennis at Aries, thank you for all the support there. Everybody over at Overland Vehicle Systems, thank you for getting us all that stuff. Kleinn horns, I appreciate everybody. Alex over at 5280, getting the vinyl done.
Hi, my name's Alex. I'm the owner of 5280 Vinyl. I did a full sponsorship for the wrap on this vehicle. We did a full color change from maroon to black. And then we went and geeked it out with all these graphics from Quake. By far, this is my favorite build out of all the Freakshow builds. Not only because it's just a really cool car, but it has sentimental value to me. My mom had one of these when I was a kid. So when Kelly said he had an Eagle and he wanted it wrapped, I was all in. I just want to thank Quake LED for giving me the opportunity to wrap this vehicle and go to SEMA with them 2021 and 22.
I just love this thing. It's an amazing ride, so much fun to drive, and definitely a mass head turner.
What I do like about it is the fact that you guys will think outside the box. It's who would do this? You guys.
When we started out, Kelly came to us, hey, we want to do something different and everything for Freakshow Builds, for SEMA, and at that time it wasn't Freakshow Builds, we just want to do something different, a scheme that everybody's going to think about and laugh about and have a good time with. And
that's what I really love about it. I really like that we got to use some of our product, yes. But at the same time, to see something like this on the road at the shows, the way that you do things, it just was great. The part that, if there's a negative side to it is, I don't get to drive it. I just get to look at it,
All right, so from 40s at SEMA, which was kind of a little more on the showy side, to fully functional 37s, and motored up with an AMC Purist 401 in there with dual quads. Now all of a sudden we've got an authentic off-road machine. This thing can roll up the trails, does its whole flex, it does its TerraFlex thing underneath, and it does its Quake LED thing on top.